In 2022, Wordle took the world by storm, and with over 2 million daily players during its peak, it was the most popular game to play. Now, people from all over the world, they like to compete, see who can get the Wordle word in the least amount of guesses. And me personally, I'm better than all of them. I mean, look at this peak gameplay right here. I have no idea. I'm already lost. Inta. That's a word, right? Yeah. Okay, so SPRT. Spurt. 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 There's no way. Alright. I'm making Python do this for me. Alright, so first things first, we need a plan. I'm going to go online and find a text file containing every single 5-letter word possible. We're then going to use Python to log onto the Wordle website, come up with a way to automate the Wordle solving process, and then we need to figure out a way to actually plug in the words on the website itself based off of those results. This is gonna be fun. Let's start off with the text file. A quick Google search and a little bit of scrolling later and, oh, this'll work. We then need a way to get onto the Wordle website. For this project, I will be using Selenium combined with a Chrome WebDriver. This basically gives my program the power to go on the internet and do things without me having to lift a finger. We're also going to import requests so we can pull data from the website, and we're also going to import time so that we can give the page time to load before pulling the data. And after writing a few more lines, we already have a Python script that brings us to the Wordle website. But now notice how we still have to hit the play button, and then once we hit the play button, we have to hit the close rules button. But we want this to be automated, so we're going to right click on the play button, go down to inspect element, and start looking through the HTML code. What we're looking for is the location of the button in the HTML code. Now, since you can think of HTML as a giant tree structure, anything that highlights the play button contains the play button. So in this case, when I hover over this element, it highlights the entire page. And as I open more elements inside of this element, you'll notice that we eventually find our way to the play button. Now, how do we actually click this button? Take note of this data-test ID equals play. What we can do is convert this into this line of code in Python, and after running it again, and doing it with the other button as well to close the rules, you'll notice that our website automatically navigates to the Wordle game. Alright, let's go back to our plan. So we have our text file, and we have figured out how to get to the Wordle website, but now we actually have to figure out how to solve Wordle. Going back into the HTML of the Wordle game itself, we can actually see that every single column has its own div element, and every single letter within that container has its div element. And doing a little bit more digging, we can see that the keyboard actually has its own div element as well. And as you can see, each row of the keyboard and every single button has its own div element. In the code, I'm just going to take note of how we can access each one of these elements so I don't have to worry about it later. Now we need to figure out what the starting word should be. Another quick Google search reveals a lot of different answers, but for this project I'm going to use the word salad. Or salé, I have no idea how you say this.
Salé.
I was right. Let's go. So now we need to actually start writing some code. First things first, I'm going to define a main function. That way my code's going to be a little bit more organized. And then we're going to start thinking about how we're going to solve this. I'm also going to take everything that we have so far, except for these little notes on the bottom, and I'm going to move them into the main function so that way we can code and stuff. Yeah. The first function I'm going to make, I'm going to call convert keys, and yeah, I'm going to have word and driver. And then I'm going to write a for loop for every character in the word. It's going to sleep, it's going to find our elements, and it's going to click them. This is going to input whatever word we pass into this function. If we type this line, convert keys, salé, and then pass it to driver, and then hit the run button, you'll see that once the Wordle page gets opened up, it will immediately type in that first word and hit the enter button. Now, the next issue we have is how do we actually get the hints? As you can see, A is yellow, L is green, S, E, and T, they're gray. Well, if we go back into inspect element from earlier, you can see something very interesting. Look at this data state attribute right here. It says absent. So for S, which is gray, it says absent. But A is yellow. So if we open up the element for A, you can see that it says present. And then if we do the same thing for L, you can see that it says correct. Using these data states, we can pull the hints directly into our code. And that is exactly what this update keys function does. It generates a hint, which is going to be a list of 5 elements, and it's simply going to find each letter, and it's going to assign either green, yellow, or red to this hint, and then it's going to send it back to main for further processing. While we're here, we should also get the giant list of words into our program. And now it's time to write the filter words function. We're going to need our list of words, we're going to need our hint, and we're going to need the previous word to perform our guess on. Now the overall plan of this function is to update words and get rid of every single word that can no longer be the answer based off of the hints, and then return it back into main. Then we're just going to repeat the cycle of putting in the next word, hitting enter, updating the hint, and then filtering words until hopefully we have one word left, and then we're done. Alright, so let's run through our filtering process with an example. Let's say we have a word, apple, that we have guessed, and a hint, green, yellow, red. We're also going to store the letter counts of the word apple, and we're also going to need our list of possible words. Now we begin the filtering process. Look at the hint for A. As you can see, it's green. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep every single word that starts with an A and remove every word that does not start with an A. Then we're going to move on to the second letter, which is P. And the hint for this one is red. Now for this, it is very important to consider the letter counts, because you might think that we could just remove every single word that has a P in it. But if you look at the third letter, which is green, you'll notice that that'll be a horrible idea. So what we're going to do to solve this is that if there is only one P, so the letter count for P is 1, then we can remove every single word with a P in it. But because the letter count for P is 2, we can only remove words that have a P in that position. After performing this step, it is very important to update the letter count of P to 1, because for the next P, if it was also red, then we can remove every single word with a P in it, because that is the last P that we're checking in this word. Now we move on to the third letter, which is a P and it's green, which means we can remove every single word that does not have a P in the third position. And in this case, without even checking the last 2 letters, we're already left with only one possible answer. Converting that into code gives us the following filter words function. Now before we run this, I've also written the 2 following functions. One picks a random word from the random list that we get after filtering, and the second one just simply checks if all of the hints are green to tell us if our word is correct. Now the last thing we have to do before running this is update main, so I'll be right back. Hey guys, watch this. Let's go! Oh my god, it finally works. I'm so happy right now. But then, I realized something. Currently, my next word function is just one line of code, where I pick a random word from a list of words. And with a list of 14,855 words, half of these words are probably almost never used. So what if instead of picking randomly, I pick the words based off of something like popularity? Because it would make sense for Wordle to just pick a random word that no one's ever heard of. People would never play the game. So that's exactly what I did. I found a giant list of words with associated frequencies that have been found online, wrote a filtering algorithm to only leave me with every single 5-letter word, and that left me with the following list here. Now, not every single word in my Wordles list was contained in this frequency list, so those words got a frequency of 0 because people have probably never heard of them before. And now it's time to go update the code again. Alright, enough waiting. Here's the updated version. And you know what? That is significantly, that's better. Yeah. So the thing I like about this change, and the main reason I did it, is because it's consistent. Because of this list right here of the clean frequencies, it's always going to pick the most popular one because it's already in sorted order. So that way we can get consistent results with different words and different solutions. In the future, if this video gets a lot of views, I would also like to do a more analytical style video to this. Maybe pick different starting words and see which starting word would be the best and gets the average of the least amount of guesses. If you guys would like to see that, please leave a like, leave a comment, and also all of this code will be posted on my GitHub in the description. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, ask away. I'll be happy to answer, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya. Spurt. What other letter could this be? What? Spurt? Spirit? I doesn't exist. Spurt. Not in word list. What? Oh my god. There's no way. There's no way.